All right, we're ready. We have all three speakers now. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I know it's after lunch, so you might be sleepy, but we're going to have full power. It's hard to stand up here, so please give them your enthusiasm. And you are about to be joined by three of my favorite Jamfs. They are incredible advocates for all things accessibility, and you couldn't be with three people that know this inside out and are super passionate about it. They're all board members of our Accessibility Employee Resource Group, so it's a privilege to work alongside them. So welcome, Deb, Don, and Hector. Woo! Yes.
Thank you.
What are we presenting on again?
All right. Thank you. You want to? Yeah. All right. So we wanted to start our presentation with a quote. This one here by Elise Roy. It really spoke to me. So it says, of course, when we design for usability first, you often stumble upon solutions that are better than those when we design for the norm. That really spoke to me because it reminds us to think openly and broadly about designs and to include everyone in our thinking process. Keeping accessibility in mind as we use and create technology has made it possible for us to be successful in our roles and to advocate for others who are close to us. My name's Deb Morris. I'm one of the managers of the User Experience Design team at Jamf. We're responsible for designing products that are accessible for all of our users.
So here at Jamf, I've been in the industry for, sorry, I'm still catching on my breath. I just closed all of my circles getting here. It's great. But I've been here at Jamf for about 4 years. I've been in the industry for many, many, many years. And I started working with a partner of Jamf, and then I moved into Jamf fully. I depend on Apple technology pretty much to do all of my work, and I use accessibility features all the time for my personal life. I'm a sales engineer, so I'm the person you talk to when you're thinking about buying Jamf and you want to have a technical conversation.
Yeah. And my name is Don. Similar to Hector, any technical conversations in the sales process, I'm there to support. I also rely on accessibility technologies to help me with my deafness at work and at home. So today, this is kind of a general outline overview. We are going to be covering the impact of accessibility. We're going to be sharing our personal experiences, and then the power of and then we also are going to be sharing some Jamf update around accessibility, just create awareness. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and begin. So, man, what's this picture here? So we want to acknowledge something here. Through personal experiences and stories that we hear, we know it's not an actual easy task. We know that it can be challenging. We shared this quote earlier because we believe that when accessibility is in the forefront of design, it paves the way for everyone to have an easier and more successful experience. So we know it takes work to provide an inclusive environment. We believe that it's better to be transparent when possible and be willing to make mistakes. So can you imagine somebody in a wheelchair trying to navigate through that? There might be some challenges with somebody with physical mobility. But if we had accessibility in the front line, sharing ideas, then it opens to the ideas of what's possible. This effort does involve collaboration, or at least taking steps toward an inclusive environment. It's not an easy fix and done deal. It's an ongoing process. So working toward making things more accessible for everybody, and that's kind of like what we're here to share with you guys.
So when gearing up for this presentation, we wanted to make sure to share some of the information about the group of folks that we're hoping can benefit from this session. In our research, we looked at data from Disability In. They're a leading nonprofit that's a resource for business disability inclusion worldwide. One statistic that I heard, and it still kind of is jarring to me, is that nearly 15% of the world's population, 1 billion people, experience some form of disability. We all know disability is a wide range, and folks can be born with a disability, they can acquire it over time, like macular degeneration, or you can be temporary, like requiring the use of a wheelchair because you broke your leg, or needing to use speech to text because you injured your hands. Ultimately, some type of accommodation or adjustment in workflow can drastically benefit the end user. So we want to start off by sharing some stories. Each of us has a different story about how accessibility has impacted us. For me, it's that I'm the mother of a young man who has cerebral palsy. My son Matt had developmental delays identified before his first birthday, and after a few years of ruling out various diagnoses, we landed on CP. For Matt, that meant physical challenges that affect his mobility and cognitive challenges that affect his development and speech. When he was about 3 years old, he was introduced to PECS, the Picture Exchange System. We had a few pictures of common items that he could point to as a way of communicating with us. A few years later, we bought one of those talking picture photo flip books, right? So we put each picture on a page, we recorded a word for it, he could push a button to have that word said out loud. When he was about 8 years old, we bought a military-grade touchscreen mobile laptop that was not so mobile. It was expensive, it was heavy, and it had a limited amount of screen real estate, and the touchscreen interface on it, you had to push really hard for it to recognize what you were doing. And then the iPad came out. It's kind of hard to explain how transformative that's been for my son. Oh, sorry. This is an example of the app that he's been using since he got his iPad. He can navigate to so many different topic areas. He can communicate with anyone. Our favorite thing to do is to read books together, so I've got a number of custom pages I've built into his app so that he can read along with me. Matt was 12 years old before he was able to say the phrase, "my mom," out loud. And to this day, it's the only recognizable phrase that he can say. So having this on his iPad is just really difficult for me to explain how important it is for him to be able to have a voice. In fact, we even call that dedicated iPad his talker. Advocating for my disabled son led me to be a huge advocate for accessibility in all the product design work that I've done over the years. Ensuring that our products work for everyone is kind of in my DNA.
Thank you, Deb. Yep. So something that just seemed so simple, but it's just kind of worth sharing. It's kind of been an evolving experience for me growing up with the deafness here. I've used doorbell adapters. I actually have images here where you got something clunky plugged into the doorbell, depending on where it is in your home. Then I got these plugs connected with lamps throughout my house. My family loved it. Sarcasm, not really. You know, flashing lights and all and everything. You know, people ask you questions. So it didn't feel natural. You know, it just felt like, hey, what is this extra thing? But it was an accommodation for me that helped me be successful. So even though it was a nuisance for others, it worked for me. So I didn't really like that, and since then, a lot has changed. Apple actually introduced, if you ever heard of HomeKit, where you can actually use technologies within like one platform to just have things talk to each other. So knowing that I was part of that ecosystem, I ended up replacing the doorbell, just thinking, hey, I got my watch. I'm going to get alerted. I'm not going to be missing much. This experience actually took me more than what I actually expected. And what I mean by that is Apple TV, my daughter rings the doorbell, I'm watching TV, I can see, I get alerted. So if I don't have my hearing aids in, I get visual cues. My phone vibrates. And the cool thing is, which I didn't realize, I have HomePods. I don't know about you, but I have like 6 throughout my house. I can actually have the sound go to every HomePod. So no matter where I am in the room or in the house, I can actually hear the sound versus trying to hear that little, you know, ding-dong sound in a centralized location. It really enhanced that experience for me. So yeah, it's gone a long ways, I'll say. So that's my personal experience. And with that, I'll pass it over to Hector.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll let you.
All right. So I want to talk a little bit about the Vision Pro. I prepared a CGI experience, so everybody will be able to see that. Use very advanced graphics. But before I talk about the Vision Pro itself, I want to tell you about my first experience with spatial computing. This happened a few years ago. There was a device that was made by a company that allowed me to try VR for the first time. I was really excited about it. I went to a demo of it. I was with my friends. We were standing in line. They went in, came out. They were like, oh my God, that was the most impressive thing ever. This is the future. I was like, this is exciting. My turn came, walked into the demo, and they had me 2 controllers. And I'm like, cool. Is there anything I can do to use only 1 control? And it's like, oh, we didn't think about that. So it was a little bit humiliating to feel left out of an experience that all my friends were having. I was able to put the thing on and kind of mess around a little bit, but it wasn't great. Then the Vision Pro was announced. Vision Pro. And I was really excited because I've always known that Apple takes care of accessibility, but I wasn't prepared for how amazing the experience was going to be. I actually bought it right away. I was very much looking forward to it. It became clear to me that this was going to be something that was going to allow me to do computing while still having a hand available, right? Because if I hold my iPad, that's it. And so I was very, very excited about it. I went to the store to try it out. And so that's me going to the store, CGI, putting on the Vision. Look at that. Boom. Simulation. I put the thing on, and the first thing that happens is this little thing comes up, like, put your hands up. And I'm like, oh, it's probably I'm gonna put my hands up, and it's probably gonna tell me, sir, put both hands up. And I was like, can't do that. So I was really worried about it. So I put it on, the thing comes up, I put my hand up, and immediately it just set up. I didn't have to do anything special. The device just started working. And I started crying at the Apple store. Luckily, they were like super kind and understood why I was so emotional about it. And I use it every day now for entertainment, for work, for pretty much every area of my life. I'm able to exercise on my stationary bike while watching movies and stuff like that because I don't have to hold the thing. And so that's been incredible. So that's my experience with accessibility. And look at the CGI. It's amazing.
All right. So now you just learned about our story. So how can we learn about taking advantage of these built-in tools? The doorbell story that I shared with you, Hector and I, as we were building this presentation, he asked if I even considered like color lights and how you can actually have some visual color with the doorbell. And I'm like, I never thought of that. That's just through networking and just talking about further enhancement, and that's something I'm actually going to be exploring. I don't know if my family's going to like it, but I'm going to explore it. So, yeah, so from our personal experiences, this can come through, hey, you discovered by going to the Apple store, or you go to the Apple website, maybe through a network of family and friends, word of mouth, like from strangers from us here at the JNUC conference. So thankfully, these tools are actually already built in the Apple devices running the latest operating system, and you can actually take advantage of an app which is called Shortcuts. So, Hector, I'm going to pass it back.
Thank you.
Do you want me to click, or are you good?
I think I got it.
Cool. Awesome.
Cool. All right. So, is anybody here familiar with Shortcuts, the little app? Has anybody ever used Shortcuts for accessibility? Cool, then you're in the right place. So we figured, we would look at the power of and, right? So by combining the Shortcuts application with self-service and a special icon that our team designed, we were able to deploy a shortcut into the self-service portal that explains to people how to use their accessibility device or the accessibility features built into their devices. Why is that important, you may ask? One of the coolest things is people don't have to disclose to you as an IT admin that they have an accessibility need to be able to use these. And for a lot of people, that may be something very personal, right? We may be talking about neurodiversity, we may be talking about all kinds of things that people may not feel comfortable disclosing. But by making it available in self-service, you create a safe space for people to use. Now, the workflow that I'm going to go through here is actually going to be available for you to download. Don is going to give us a link to it. Don't worry about following everything thoroughly. I'm just going to show you how it works, and then you'll be able to follow up if you want to set it up in your own environment. But the first thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need the shortcuts application, so that you need to have it in a computer for sure. You're going to need an Apple ID. It can be any Apple ID. It doesn't have to be an official Apple ID of any kind. It can be just any Apple ID, so that you can create a link for self-service. And then if you want to, we're going to make our little assets that we created, that accessibility logo, available in Marketplace, Jamf Marketplace, so you can actually download it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nobody noticed that.
Okay.
All right. So the first thing that you do is, with that Apple ID that I mentioned, you grab an iPhone or any Apple device, really, and then you launch the Shortcuts application. Then you go into the gallery. It'll probably come up right away. The accessibility section is right there. If it doesn't, just type the word accessibility and you'll be able to find it. I would also encourage you to look through the shortcuts that are already made, because you may find some other shortcuts that you may want to deploy for your end users. And then you're going to click on the little plus sign right next to on the upper right-hand corner of the shortcut. And that's going to add it to your gallery. From there, you can click on the little 3 dots. And I just moved too fast. But basically what happened is it actually created a link. So it's going to say, do you want to share this? And the way you share it is through a link. Oh, perfect. Oh, goodness. There you go. OK. You share it through a link. It comes up. Copy it, paste it anywhere you want, airdrop it to yourself. Just make sure to save that link. Then you're going to go into Jamf Pro. And you're actually going to go through the same process that you go to create a web shortcut, either on the Mac for the accessibility, for self-service, or on an iPhone, also for self-service. This process is going to go really quickly in this presentation. Don't worry about it. There's a lot of documentation on it. But all you're doing is you're creating a little web link that's going to show up on the devices, either on the home screen on a phone or on self-service on the Mac. Any questions on that? I'm sure you've all done this at some point or another. Cool. What that does is that it will actually make the shortcut available for your end users in self-service. And I just want to show you really quickly what it looks like. And just because we have a lot to cover, I'm not going to go through the whole entire process. But again, there's documentation on this, and we're going to make it available for you. So when an end user goes into their device, they would be able to go into self-service, launch the shortcut, or launch self-service, rather, tap on the shortcut, it will install. And then they can click on the shortcut itself. It will put it in their own gallery. And then when they actually use the shortcut, this is what it's going to do. It's going to give them options. So like what type of accessibility needs they have. So here we made a couple of selections. And then when they're done with selecting the accessibility needs that they have, it's going to take all of the information that they need for that accessibility need, and it's going to create a new document. In this case, we have it in Notes, but you can modify it so it goes anywhere else, giving them an entire list of suggestions of everything they could possibly need to do to their own devices to make them more accessible. So what we're doing is you're using self-service to empower your users to make their own changes without having to tell anyone, like, hey, I have an accessibility need. Not only that, but if you're a specialist in your job and you're the kind of person that sets up the devices and you don't know exactly how to help one of your users, you can also use this shortcut to get the information that you need. And it has the ability to select all of the accessibility needs that you may possibly need. Any questions on that? Cool. All right. So with that said, we are going to pass it on to Deb to talk about.
Yeah. All right, to talk about, more quotes, because I love quotes. So when UX doesn't consider all users, Shouldn't it be known as some user experience or sucks? So I'm here to talk actually about something we've done really great, which is self-service accessibility improvements. It's great that we're building on what, the stuff that Hector and Don has just been talking about using the self-service app. But within that app itself, we incorporated accessibility into it by moving to Swift UI, a project that we started about 2 years ago. So leaning into Apple's built-in accessibility features on the iPhone and the iPad and the Mac, we've defined how the self-service product works so that it's aware of an individual's accessibility settings. So for example, do you need the text to be bold? We've got you covered, right? You go into your settings, you go into accessibility, you turn on bold. When you go back then to the self-service app, you'll see that automatically the text has been updated to bold. Maybe you need a larger font size. So same thing, we go back into settings, you go into accessibility, you change your font size, you use the slider. Don made it really huge for us. We go back into self-service, and you'll see again, it's automatically understood that you've made those changes and adapted the UI. Maybe you need to have a better color contrast. Maybe the system default colors don't work for you. There's a smart invert option that's available through the Apple accessibility settings. So again, if you go and turn that on, and you go back into self-service, you'll see that it's automatically adjusted to support that. There's a number of other things that we've supported through this. We have support for high contrast. We have support for reduced transparency. Do you have like 8% of the men worldwide a red-green color deficiency? All of that is now supported in all of our self-service apps, and VoiceOver as well. So in addition to that, I'm also responsible for managing our accessibility auditing of all of our products that we make available to you. And as part of that process, we've actually hired an organization this year called Level Access. Level Access is a really well-known accessibility auditing and remediation company, and I'm really excited to work with them. They just finished doing our audit of Jamf Pro. We kicked that off in mid-August. We just got our results back on that last week. And so I'm going to share a little bit about how that's happened. Previously, we got just kind of a spreadsheet with some high-level information that was just not really helpful for our engineering staff to actually fix the problems. And now, what we get, I know I love the woohoo, there it goes. Now, ta-da, we get really detailed information from this work we're doing with Level Access. So it's like specifically, here's the problem, here's the steps to reproduce that problem, here's our recommended code fix for that problem, here's the button you could click to test it again once you think you've updated it, so we can validate that your fix actually worked. So again, this is super hot off the press, literally just got the results a week ago today, and we're just starting to get into it. But I'm looking forward to working with this company as we start doing auditing of all of our products and getting this level of detail. And also for us, we use Jira as our ticketing system with our engineering teams. It automatically creates tickets in Jira for us for every item that's found. So it's just really, I'm just excited about it. I feel like it's empowering us to fix our products so they work better for all of you. So we made a lot of progress with the release of Pro 11 last year, including, of course, our favorite, the delivery of dark mode. We're really committed to improving the accessibility of all of our products, and we're going to continue sharing updates with you as we make progress along that journey. Cool. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Deb. So this is a QR code. As Hector had mentioned, we would have instructions for you. Come with a caveat. It's not published yet. But please do, I know. Please do feel free to scan it. It's going to take you to our Jamf Marketplace. We are in the process of getting the instructions up there. 2 ways. You can check the website regularly. It will be updated on there. Or you can send an email to accessibility@jamf.com. I'll put you in the list, and then as soon as it gets published, I'll send out an email so that way you don't have to monitor it. Come find me. I'll make sure you get this right spelling and everything. Yes, and then we're also going to be hanging out in the Jamf booth If you have questions around accessibility, Deb is hanging out. Oh,
I'm at the UX booth, of
Yes.
course. Yep.
cool.
So with that,
We're going to open it up for questions, right?
Yeah.
So Lisette's got a microphone if anyone has any questions.
And yeah.
What?
No questions.
No questions.
No questions?
Well,
Cool.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Woohoo, we appreciate your time. We hope you have a great time at the rest of your JNUC.